Think back to the first time you heard it. You probably liked it. Maybe you saved it, added it to a playlist. But the words were just words. They passed through without leaving much behind. Then something happens. A loss, or a goodbye, or a stretch of time that asks more of you than you were ready to give. Maybe nothing dramatic at all. Just a feeling you had not named yet. And then the song comes on again. The words are not vague anymore. They are not poetic in a distant way. They are specific. They are about something real. And for a moment, it feels like the song was always waiting to be heard at exactly this point in your life. There is a brief pause that tends to follow. Not silence, exactly. More like everything else steps back for a second. Because something shifted, and the mind needs a moment to register it. The song was always there. You just had not caught up to it yet. The brain does not store music the way it stores information. It does not file songs under facts or data. It stores them alongside the moments they were heard in, the people, the places, the feelings present at the time. The regions responsible for emotion and memory are not separate systems. They are closely connected, and they influence each other constantly. So when a song plays, especially one tied to something significant, it does not just bring back a recollection. It brings back the feeling that went with it. That is why music can send someone, somewhere unexpected faster than a photograph or a conversation can. It does not require context. It does not ask permission. It arrives, and the emotional response follows almost immediately. Research suggests that music does not only retrieve memories. It can subtly alter them. When someone listens to a song while thinking about a particular moment, the emotional tone of that memory can shift, slightly softer or slightly heavier, depending on what the song carries with it. So the songs people return to repeatedly are not just replaying the past. Over time, they may be quietly changing how that past is remembered. There is a specific moment that happens with a familiar song. It starts, and before the music even reaches the part that moves you, the feeling is already there. The brain has learned the song. It knows what is coming, and it begins moving toward it before the moment arrives. This is anticipation. The brain starts preparing for an emotional experience it already recognizes, and by the time the song reaches that part, you were already inside it. That is part of why certain songs feel almost too much to sit with. You are not simply hearing them. You are already feeling what comes next, and when it arrives, it confirms something you already knew was on its way. Familiarity does not reduce that. For most people, it deepens it. Knowing exactly what a song will do makes the feeling more reliable, and reliability has its own kind of weight. Something that does not follow obvious logic. When a song is connected to grief, or a loss, or something that ended, the instinct might be to avoid it. But most people do not. They go back to it, sometimes on repeat, sometimes for days. The reason tends to come down to what the brain is trying to do with unresolved emotion. When a feeling does not have a clear outlet, a conversation that never happened, a goodbye that did not come out right, something that ended without a proper ending, the mind keeps circling back to it. The song holds that loop open. Replaying it is often not avoidance. It is the opposite. The brain found the exact emotional frequency it has been working around, and it is using the song as a way to stay with it long enough to process it. Music does not resolve anything on its own, but it can give the process somewhere to happen. Sad music also carries something people find useful without always recognizing it. It is evidence that someone else felt the same thing and found a way to put it into words. That does not make the feeling disappear, but it does make it feel less like something only you are carrying. When a song plays and brings someone to mind, a person who is no longer around, or a relationship that ended, the first thought is usually that you miss them. That is often true. But it is not always the complete picture. What the feeling sometimes points to is a version of yourself that existed during that period. The way you thought then. The places that felt safe. The things you had not lost yet, or had not had to think about. The person was part of that world, and the song carries the whole world, not just them. Music stores emotional states. It encodes what it felt like to be in a particular period of life, with particular people, carrying a particular set of feelings. When those sounds return, what comes back is not only a memory of someone. It is a memory of who you were when they were around. That distinction matters. It changes what the feeling is actually about. And for some people, recognizing it is its own kind of clarity. Some songs do not connect on first listen. They sound fine, maybe interesting, but they do not feel personal. And they stay that way until, at some point, they do not. Something changes in a person's life, and they return to a song they have heard before, and it reads completely differently. As though it was written about something they are going through right now. It was not. But certain writers write from reflection, not from inside an emotion, but from after it. They write from having already been somewhere and come out the other side. That creates a kind of open space in the song, a space that stays abstract until the listener reaches a similar place in their own life. At that point, the language becomes exact. That is what people mean when they say a song sounds different now. The song has not changed. The listener has moved close enough to what the song was describing that they can finally hear it for what it was. There is a particular version of this that happens at night. Headphones in, room quiet, no one else around. In that setting, music tends to carry more weight. The words feel closer. Part of that is simply the absence of distraction. But something more specific is happening. When people listen privately, there is no social layer between them and what they are hearing. No version of themselves to maintain for anyone else. The music reaches somewhere it cannot always get to in other circumstances. Research on loneliness and music suggests that when people feel most isolated, the brain begins to process music differently, treating it almost as a form of social presence. The voice in the song registers as company, in a way that is subtle but real. That is not a flaw in perception. It reflects something about how deeply music is connected to the social and emotional parts of the brain. When heard alone, it can serve as a kind of presence. Not a substitute for human connection, but not nothing either. Songs heard in adolescence and early adulthood tend to carry more emotional weight later in life than music heard at any other time. This pattern is well documented. Those years are when people are forming a sense of who they are, what they feel, and what they want. They are also dense with experiences that are genuinely new, first relationships, first losses, the first time certain emotions have a name. Music heard during that period gets attached to all of it. Later in life, most experiences arrive with some kind of familiar template. You have been through something like it before, and you recognize the shape of it. But the experiences of early life are new in a way they can only be once, and the music paired with those moments carries that quality with it for a long time. That is why a song from 15 or 20 years ago can stop someone mid-task. It is not just memory. It is the emotional record of a time when things were being figured out, and the person those years shaped is still somewhere in there, responding to the same sounds. So why do certain lyrics suddenly start making sense? Not because the listener finally understood them. Because the listener finally lived them. The song stayed the same. Everything around it moved. The brain held onto the words, the melody, the feeling from the first time, and kept all of it until the version of the person that could recognize what they meant was ready. That process is not dramatic. It does not announce itself. It happens quietly, the way most real changes do, gradually, without permission, and usually when no one is paying close attention. Sometimes a song stays with someone not because they love it, but because it is holding something they have not fully set down. A period of their life. A version of themselves. A feeling that never quite finished. And in that sense, music does not just accompany a life. For a lot of people, in quiet moments, it helps them understand one.